adapter and server integrations. Although we have completed our supercart application in the previous section, this section will provide us with tips and tricks to be able to maximize the power of Ember and also to ensure that it works with a wide array of server combinations. In this section, we will start with customizing adapters, and then we will have a look at customizing serializers, and lastly, we will look at common server integrations. Customizing adapters. We will cover custom inflection rules, path customization, and headers customization. In our supercart application, we had already created an application adapter which had a namespace property pointing to API. The other common customization property is host, which allows us to specify the host of our API. For example, if we were to use an API like math.js.org, we could use this as a host and then change the namespace to v1. Then if we load our application, we see that our app tries to access api.mathjs.org as we specified that as the host. The next thing we would look at is the custom inflector. Ember inflector is the library used for inflecting words between plurals and singular forms. This library is included by default with Ember data. In case we are dealing with an API which has a slightly different nomenclature, for example, a differently spelled products, we can utilize Ember inflector to ensure that our app manages to hit the right endpoint. The recommended way to do this is to create a file under app, models, custom inflector rules.js, and then we can import this file in our app/app.js. So we could do something like import models custom inflector rules, and then inside custom inflector rules we can import inflector from Ember inflector, and then we could define our irregular verbs. That would be inflector.inflector.irregular, and then we would have product and the irregular product plural with an E. And lastly, we export default to allow our app to import it, and then our application loads and we see that our API is hitting /API/products with an E, but we encounter an error as our API is also dependent on our Ember application. So let us change that in our products call as well. And then our application loads and it manages to get the right URL and it manages to load all the products as expected. Another important customization is the path customization. For example, if our API expects certain models to have an underscore in the URL, like cart underscore items instead of cart hyphen items, we can use the path for type method to specify that we want to customize the path to an underscore. Another important customization in our adapter is the headers customization, which can be achieved by adding a key called headers, which can take either an object or even a computed property as the value, and here we can pass in key value based headers. Then in our application, if we try to hit the categories URL and let us add a call to the debugger so that we can view the header requests in our application and reload our application with the console open. And now that our application has paused at the debugger, we can visit the console and try something like request headers, and we see that in this object we have our super important API key as well as the value present. So thus we have seen how we can customize our adapters to suit our API.